I thought family meant loyalty until I discovered my own sister had quietly turned my good name into her personal ATM, racking up $23,000 in luxury purchases on my credit while I ate ramen to keep her daughter fed. One Gucci bag too many, and a lifetime of silent sacrifice later, I finally snapped. I picked up the phone, hired a lawyer, and forced her to face the fallout. This is how I took back my life from the one person I should have been able to trust most. My sister used my credit, my savings, my life. Then she smiled and said, "You're just being dramatic." So I called a lawyer and shut her down. I am a 35-year-old male from a typical, noisy Italian family in New Jersey, you know the type. Sunday dinners are required. Everyone knows everyone else's business, and your nana will force feed you even if you're about to burst. Growing up, my older sister Bianca, 38, and our parents, both 65, shared a tiny 3-bedroom house that always smelled of garlic and moss sauce. Bianca was always the special one, attractive, intelligent, upwardly mobile, God's gift to Italian Americans or something. Me, I was just a youngster with good hands who ended up working in construction. Don't get me wrong, I make a nice living running crews now, enough to live comfortably and perhaps take one vacation a year if I'm lucky. But to Bianca, that disappointed me. She never missed an opportunity to tell me how I'd settled for a blue-collar job while she pursued her grandiose goals. Most of those huge goals involved marrying wealthy people and enjoying a lavish lifestyle, and she did that too, for a while. She met Luca, a 42-year-old millionaire, at a posh wine tasting event. She crashed, appearing to be more important than she was. He was wealthy, from a respectable Italian family, and Ma and Pop were overjoyed their little princess had finally gotten the life she deserved. They arranged a massive wedding that Pop literally depleted his funds for her because, God forbid, Bianca didn't receive everything she desired. I remember standing in my rented tux watching her marry this poor fool and thinking, at least she'll be someone else's problem now. Boy, was I mistaken. Fast forward 5 years. Everything went wrong. Luca filed for divorce out of nowhere. I had my suspicions it wasn't exactly out of nowhere. She kept mentioning the personal trainer at her gym, always messaging, always finding excuses to spend more time there. I never said anything, since you know how Italian families are about such things, but I'm quite sure Luca saw more than pilots, if you get my drift. The divorce was ugly, just like tossing plates in restaurants is terrible. Yes, she actually did it. I created the local paper and everything. Luca had a good lawyer and a solid prenup, smart guy. Bianca received little more than monthly support. For their 9-year-old daughter, Gianna, that's when the real fun began. Bianca was a disaster. She lacked real-world skills. She'd spent years as a trophy wife. She and Gianna needed a place to stay and money to get by. In a normal family, the parents would step in to help their daughter get back on her feet. Nope. Ma and Pop suddenly decided now was the time to celebrate their golden years. They'd recently retired and were planning excursions to Italy to reconnect with their roots or something. They basically informed Bianca they couldn't help because they had to find themselves. Remember how you spent all of your wedding savings? Yeah. That was their only contribution to her adult life. So guess who volunteered? Yes, your boy Rocca. That's me, not my real name. Because I'm the one with a steady job and no responsibilities, according to their words. Initially, it was supposed to be temporary, just until I find a job. Rocca help with groceries for a few months, Bianca said. Gianna needs new school supplies. You're handy with that process. Before I knew it, I was paying her rent, $1,600 per month for a decent place. God forbid Bianca lived in a standard apartment, plus utilities, groceries, and extras for Gianna. Need a laptop for school? Uncle Rocca has got it. Dance classes? Uncle Rocca will cover them. Birthday parties? You guessed it. I reminded myself it was for Gianna. She's amazing, smart, sweet. Nothing like her mother. Hardly her fault her mother is a train wreck, right? Besides, in Italian families you're expected to help family no matter what. Ma instilled that in us. Odd how it only applied to assisting Bianca, not myself. This carried on for 5 years. I watched my savings evaporate. I skipped my personal vacations because Bianca needed money for Gianna's summer camp. Bianca spent 5 years staring down her nose at me while living off my money. What's the worst part? Bianca pretended she was doing me a favor by allowing me to help, as if she were giving me a purpose in life. She'd make small remarks at family dinners about how nice it was that I was so invested. She spoke in that tone like she was talking about a kid's lemonade sale. But hey, I was raised to believe family supports family. So I clenched my teeth and kept writing checks. I kept telling myself it was only temporary. About a year ago, Bianca finally found a decent job, really decent. A human resources position at a pharmaceutical company, benefits, pay, the whole package. About 65, zero a year. Not raking it in, but far better than the consulting she'd been doing. I figured this was it, my chance to step back. I'll help you for a few months while you adjust, I said. Gianna's sake. That's when things turned weird. First, Bianca showed up to Sunday dinner wearing beautiful shoes, then a flashy new phone, then a whole new wardrobe because her old clothes weren't professional enough. Whatever, maybe she got a signing bonus. But the situation escalated. Every week she arrived at Mom and Pop's with something new, fancy handbags, jewelry, and even an expensive gym membership because her old gym didn't have the right atmosphere. Meanwhile, I was still paying her rent and utilities. She kept insisting she needed more time to save. Sunday dinners are sacred in our family. Miss one and Ma acts as if you committed a crime against humanity. Every week I sat there witnessing this circus. Bianca flaunting her new clothes, Ma and Pop beaming at their lovely princess getting back on her feet, and me discreetly calculating how much of my money went to rent versus shopping sprees. Aunt Teresa, 64, was the only one who seemed to sense something was wrong. She'd give me knowing looks across the table, as if she knew I was ready to lose it. Thank God for her, she's the only sane member besides me. This continued for several months. Bianca grew more entitled. I grew more frustrated, until one Sunday, we're all seated, me, Bianca, Jana, Ma, Pop, and Teresa. Ma made her delicious lasagna, which Bianca usually complains is too high in calories. Everything seemed normal. Bianca bragging about work, Pop discussing their forthcoming Sicily trip, Jana fiddling under the table. Then Bianca dropped the bomb. Oh, I'm thinking of getting that gorgeous Gucci bag I saw. Only $500, perfect. For client meetings. I nearly choked on my wine. $500 for a purse, and I'm still paying her $1,600 rent? I tried to stay calm. That's a lot for a purse when you're still getting help with your bills, don't you think? I still hear her response. She chuckled as if I were a foolish kid and said, "Don't be cheap. Rocca, a professional needs to look professional. Cheap." She called me cheap. I hadn't bought new work boots in 2 years because her rent ate into my budget. I missed my best friend's wedding in Vegas because she needed money for Gianna's camp. I hadn't been on a date in months because every dime was spent on her emergencies. The worst part, she didn't just say it, everyone else did. Ma and Pop suddenly ignored their plates. Jana looked uncomfortable, poor kid. Only Aunt Teresa seemed about to speak, but I beat her to it. I set my fork down, took a deliberate sip of wine, and let it out. Let's talk about cheap, Bianca. Let's talk about how I've been paying your rent for 5 years while you buy designer crap. Let's talk about how our parents wouldn't help you but insisted you help me. Let's talk about you looking down on my simple job while living off it. The room went utterly silent, might have heard a meatball drop. Then I delivered the final blow. I'm done. No more rent. No more utilities. No more groceries. No more nothing. You've got a good job now, time to pay your own bills. Bianca's expression flipped through astonishment, anger, fear, and finally confusion. Was I serious? Aunt Teresa began slow clapping. Way to go, Rocca. Ma looked like she might faint. Pop wouldn't even look at me. I grabbed my jacket and headed out, but paused for one more line. Bianca, maybe spend that $500 on rent instead because I mean it. I'm done being your bank. Then I walked out. Aunt Teresa followed, hugged me, and said she was so glad someone finally stood up to Bianca's BS. But Bianca? Crickets. No angry texts, her usual move of 47 messages if I was 10 minutes late. Picking up Jana. Instead, absolute radio silence. We have a family WhatsApp group, usually Ma sending prayer chains and food pics. Nothing. 9:30 Wednesday. Someone hammered on my door. Ma and Pop, looking as if I'd cancelled Christmas. Ma barged in, typical pacing in her church dress. She'd come straight from evening mass. Pop standing with that perfected disappointed parent look. We need to talk about Bianca, Ma said, like she was about to negotiate peace. I grabbed a Coke more for me while they gave me the "you suggested we loot the bank" look. Finally, Ma blurted, "She's struggling," Rocca. Pop admitted, "Jana doesn't deserve to suffer because of your stubbornness." I almost spat out my soda. What stubbornness? You two have been on cruises and wine tours instead of helping your own daughter, and you lecture me about Gianna's pain? I tried to be calm. You want to celebrate her independence now. But where was this tough love 5 years ago? Ma's face soured. That's not fair. We're retired. Worked all our lives. You're young with a great career. And Bianca is your sister. Sister, I said. I guess that only matters when it's convenient, right? This set Ma off on a rant about family responsibilities. How I was callous. How Jonna was innocent. Pop made tiny comments. This isn't how we raised you. Then the best part. They hit me with a gem. We don't enable her like you do. She needs to learn responsibility. I lost it. I laughed in their faces. Now she needs responsibility? Where was that attitude 5 years ago when I was paying her bills? Ma sputtered. Pop tried to interrupt. I just held the door open. Thanks for stopping by. But from now on, it's time to pay bills like an adult. They left, muttering Italian under their breath, the universal clue they're furious. Ma didn't even force leftovers on me. That's Italian mom speak for you're dead to me. And Teresa messaged. They'll get over it. You did the right thing. I skipped the next Sunday dinner. Texting Ma I had to work half true. She replied passive-aggressively, that's fine. Jonna asked about you, but work is more important than family. I understand. That's classic Italian mom guilt. Then Wednesday night, my doorbell rang again. It was my accountant telling me to check my credit report immediately. My hands shook typing into Experian. Over the past 6 months, 4 new credit cards had been opened in my name, maxed out at thousands of dollars each at Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom, upscale boutiques. Even flights to Miami. Total damage. 23,400, nearly the down payment I'd saved for our home. I panicked. Threw my phone. Punched a wall, dumb move. Then sat on the kitchen floor in a panic attack. Aunt Teresa answered the second ring, cursing, in Italian as only a true Nana could. You need to call the police, she said. But Bianca has Jonna. What if I press charges and hurt my niece? I spent the night listing the charges. Spa treatments, designer jewelry, flight tickets, all on my dime while I ate ramen. Next morning, bleary-eyed, I called a lawyer specializing in identity theft. The consultation cost $400, but it was worth it. The lawyer said it was one of the clearest identity theft cases he'd ever seen. Every delivery to her address, her phone number, her email attached. She faces serious charges, but since she's family, maybe we negotiate first. I called Bianca. She answered, Hey, Johnny, how's my favorite guy? She sounded cheerful as if nothing was wrong. I shut her off. I know about the credit cards. Silence. Then, shut up. Just shut up for once and listen. I'm not asking this ends now.